Melissa, we can hear you.
All right. Looks like we're looking for a few folks here. A couple of folks to join us. Colin, I see you just joined. Are you there?
I'm here. Good morning.
Well, hello. Good morning. Happy Wednesday.
Indeed.
All right. And are we waiting, it looks like, on an Andy? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Andy may be joining us shortly. Same thing with Mike. Give him a couple more minutes, maybe.
Sounds good.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes. Is that you, Andy?
Yes, good morning.
Hello. This is Melissa with Unified. We'll go ahead and get this party started here in a minute. I think we're just waiting on Mike. Is that correct?
Yeah, we'll give him just another minute or two, and then we can get going.
Look at him. Is he just always fashionably late, or?
Well, he usually gets into the office around this time, but yeah, traffic or something maybe holding him up slightly.
Got it. How are you guys experiencing fall out there right now?
Yeah, and if the weather predictions are correct, we'll be experiencing winter this weekend.
I heard that. That is crazy.
Yeah, not too thrilled about it.
You're like, it's too early. It's way too early.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with global warming, it's supposed to be later in the year, right? It's not supposed to be earlier.
Yeah, that's the thing that you would think is like, you know, we would just end up with like permanent fall, but it seems like winter is going the complete opposite direction, and it just keeps getting worse. I don't know.
Are you guys experiencing worse winter storms, or are you experiencing less, or does it really just depend on the year?
Oh, the last 2-3 years have just been horrible. We've had an increase in the number of snowstorms where we've gotten like a foot of snow at a time, and we've also been getting much colder temperatures. Like I remember this past winter, we had like 2 or 3 days straight where the high temperature was 30 below zero.
Wait. The high?
Yeah. And that's not with the wind chill. Like it got to the point where they closed schools and, you know, businesses and stuff. Basically the entire state shut down. It just is too dangerous to go outside. It was so cold.
That's insane. I mean, I think the coldest I've ever been in was 30 below zero when I was in college, which was many moons ago. And that I went to school in Missouri, and they and that was with the wind chill, and it was crippling. I mean, it was like,
oh yeah,
you could not function. And
yeah,
so I can't imagine that it was even worse for you guys.
Oh yeah, no, it was horrible. I mean, they even got to the point, I remember, where they were asking people to turn their thermostats down because they were afraid they were going to run out of natural gas.
What?
Like it was so cold that your furnace would basically just keep running continuously. It would never cycle on and off. So they were like, please set your thermostats to like 64 or whatever, because otherwise you don't have enough gas to go around.
Do you expect me to build a fire in my front room?
Yeah, pretty much.
But I mean,
pretty much. They were like, put on a sweater.
You're like, listen, I've got 5 layers on inside right now. So
yeah,
what else you need from me?
It was bad.
Oh God, that's crazy. Yeah, it's I was not able to be a part of the tech assessment call last week. I was actually on vacation, and I was out of the country, and so even out of the country, there were all of these. It was news everywhere about, you know, the U.S. getting pounded for winter storms potentially this week, you know, or into next week, and it was just like, are you like? And I just remember thinking, this is crazy. Like I don't ever remember it being this early. So wacky stuff.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Mike, are you there?
Oh yeah, I've just been listening to your weather conversation. So
You know, I mean, we should all just be meteorologists at this point.
absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and get this party started. Just wanted to welcome you and thank you in advance for taking the time to meet with us today. Mike, I know that you had the opportunity to meet with some of my team last week, and unfortunately I was out. So my name is Melissa Robertson. I'm the RVP of the Central and West United States. My job is to obviously work in partnership with the rest of Unified, with our college partnerships for again, the Central and West U.S. So I am located on the West Coast in sunny Los Angeles, or I should say, for weather purposes, firebound. As we see, that seems to be our new normal out here. But originally, I'm a Midwest girl that you know, did that thing after college. Where do you go? And so over the last 19 years, I've been in Los Angeles and been in higher education, most recently serving as college president at 2 schools on the West Coast. So made the transition over to Unified because I loved what we were doing. We're really forward thinking, and I'm hopeful that you will see that today as well. Just if we could go around the horn, enough about me. I also have on the call who is our resident rock star, if you will, NK, who will be presenting for you guys today. NK, you want to say a few words about yourself, sir?
Good morning, everyone. This is NK. I'm the director for Unified Verify. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
I actually just finished the same weather conversation with McAllister University. They're like a mile away. And I was actually near you guys almost 4 weeks back. I visited McAllister, and that's one of the reasons why Melissa really wanted me to be on the call, since it's my team taking care of McAllister University. And I see like your systems and their systems are exactly identical.
Yeah, we do have a good relationship with them as well. So
wonderful. Great. Okay, fantastic. So I think the call, good, Melissa.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just for a quick introduction, I wanted to learn about a little bit about Andy, Colin, and Mike, if possible, and then I'll do a quick opener, and then I'm going to pass it over to NK because, again, he's the guy with the knowledge and the one you certainly want to hear more than me. So a little bit about you guys. Mike, I know that you were the one who had originally reached out to us.
No, just a little about me. I'm the director of infrastructure and security here at St. Kate's. I don't do anything. I just watch Colin and Andy push buttons, essentially. We're in need for a true IDP solution. So I think it was Colin who reached out to our friends at McAllister and found you. And so we just really curious about your product.
Cool, good stuff. Colin, Andy.
Yeah, so Colin, I'm the IT architect here. I kind of just do all sorts of random stuff all day. If people don't know who needs to do what, I end up doing it basically. And we've kind of been taking on more responsibilities in our group over the past year or two, trying to kind of get us pushed in a little bit better of a direction. We do have an SSO platform now, but it's not very flexible. So we're really just looking for something that's easier to manage, more flexibility, especially around getting multi-factor authentication involved. Kind of give us a better platform going forward, because we're just going to keep moving more and more stuff to SaaS type platforms, running less in-house, and so having kind of a common platform to have all that stuff off against is important. And I know the folks over at McAllister pretty well, this kind of all started with a different conversation. They were asking what kind of logging we keep on various systems, and the conversation turned to SSO, and they recommended we talk to you folks. So.
Oh, awesome. Well, that's super kind of them. But we are very proud of our SSO and MFA that we refer to as Verified, which we're getting ready to show you guys. Andy, a little bit about you, sir.
I'm the systems and network administrator here. I take care of the Unix environment, which is where all of our ERP and banner systems live.
Cool. Awesome. Well, we've got three important dudes on the phone. That's what I'm hearing. So let me ask you real quick before we pass presenter controls over to NK. Are you guys familiar with Unified? Have you guys heard of us before?
I haven't before.
Okay. Okay. I'll tell you what, if we could just real quick, let's just pop through a few of these slides. I'd like to be able to give you guys a visual, a little bit about who we are, just so you know a little bit more about Unified. So just quick company overview. We were founded in 2003 by 14 research institutions across the United States. Essentially, the purpose was to bring together these schools and to figure out what the challenges, the pain points, the areas of opportunity were. And here we are 16 plus years later, you know, with an ecosystem that we're very proud of. All of our products have been developed based upon feedback from the schools, whether they were it was something that they were missing or they were looking for a more affordable solution. Much of what why a lot of people honestly don't know about us is because the majority of our business is done through word of mouth. We don't have a bunch of sales reps that are knocking down your door looking for your business. Our business model is more or less to pass that cost savings over to you. And so obviously by having a lower overhead, we've obviously been pretty successful throughout the years by word of mouth. Our headquarters, our national U.S. headquarters are in Chicago, Illinois. We also have another headquarters over in India. We're in Gurgaon, India, where we partner with many Indian institutions over there as well. Throughout the world, we have over 850 college and university partners. We have over 370 in the United States currently and climbing. As you can see with our various products, here are some examples of our partner institutions. Obviously, Texas A&M, University of Texas at Austin has been one of our partners for many years. Camden County College, LSU, we recently just won the RFP. CUNY system up in New York is, we've been with a couple of the schools for many years, but we just recently won the RFP for all of the schools, which we're really proud of. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, our focus is to work with all of the different school groups, whether you are a small religious institution, if you're a large nonprofit, if you're a large public, if you're you know, a small community college system, and our products are built to be able to support you know, the various types of institutions, if you will. Some of our partners, formalized partnerships for financial aid, we partner with College Board from an LMS perspective, Blackboard, Canvas, D2L Brightspace. I think that you guys have design though, right, for your LMS system right now?
No, we're D2L.
We're on D2L, yeah.
Oh, okay, you are in D2L. Okay, got it. Very cool. So, and then we have a partnership that was just finalized a few weeks back with Starfish as well. So this is a little overview or a quick overview of our product ecosystem, where Verify is what you guys are going to see today. That is our SSO MFA system. Admit is our CRM system that we have. Financial aid, we had talked a little bit about that with College Board. Are you guys headed to EDUCAUSE by any chance, any of the three of you guys next week?
We are not. No bandwidth in terms of time and projects and that sort of thing. Yeah,
we're kind of hearing that a lot. So bummer, I'd love to have been able to meet you guys, but what we will be doing is our big unveiling of our student information system, which is coming up next week. So we're hosting like an event, you know, for any potential CIS schools and such. So again, really proud of that. It has been active overseas, but we've had development partners in the United States who will be there to talk about their experience from a migration standpoint and such. We went over the LMS partnerships, and then also our portal and mobile platform we refer to as Engage. And then for HR and finance, we partner with 2 different organizations, SAP by Design and also Microsoft Dynamics. So one of the things that we have been in the news recently for is us being considered an industry leader for microservices, where our whole world lives on the cloud, specifically AWS. So, and I know that NK is going to talk a little bit more about what that front end looks like now. So enough about this, a little bit about who we are. Do you guys have any questions before I pass over to NK?
I don't think so.
All right. Okay, let's do it. NK, you are up.
Okay, wonderful. Let's get going. I'm just going to request for presenters control team, if you could acknowledge you see my screen, we'll get started.
Yep.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, wonderful. Great. So Colin, you mentioned that I think you're the one managing these systems. So before hopping on to this meeting, I did my research. I'm super familiar with what you all are using. This is Ethos Identity, which probably you've deployed on premise.
Yep.
And it's giving you both CAS and SAML. I think you've done a pretty decent job so far. Your D2L email, which is Google, and rest of the applications are all integrated really well with Ethos Identity. And you do have a password reset, which I could see across all the applications. Which looked a little old school because it was asking quite a lot of things like send Kate's ID, username, and 4 digits of SSN. So that's the research I've done so far. Colin, you mentioned that you're looking at replacing identity. Is it purely that you're looking at putting things into cloud, or are there any burning concerns with Ethos sitting on premise which we should be aware of as well?
You know, we're not really so worried about the whole SSO portion sitting on-prem, and in some ways we prefer it that way. The thing is, it's not a terribly flexible platform, and especially when it comes to getting MFA involved. We also, of course, I mean, it's an Illusion product based on an open source product, and Illusion's kind of famous for not having that great a support. So there are some shortcomings in the platform that it doesn't sound like Illusion really ever cares to fix. So we're just trying to look for something that's a bit more modern, that isn't kind of duct taped together like, you know, EIS is, and something that gives us way better granularity when it comes to MFA. We've wanted to roll out MFA for quite a while, but with all the research I've done as to other schools going to MFA, the best advice that I've seen is to roll it out in a very kind of granular and piecemeal fashion.
Yep.
And try to fit it best to your audience. So what we're actually looking at is wanting the ability to have kind of conditions under which people get hit with an MFA request, not just based on per application that they're trying to log into, but also their maybe role in the university. So we can get that granular rollout and try to make it secure, but as least annoying as possible.
Understood. Very clear. And I think that's exactly what we've been hearing, basis with which Colin, to Melissa's point, we've been empathizing a lot, and that's the request which is common, basis which you'll see the product. Now, 2020, just to share like what institutions are demanding now, is all going to be towards behavior. So we did applications really, really well. We did even the geo checks and all the bells and whistles when it comes to MFA, but now obviously institutions are demanding about behavioral. So that's the next generation when it comes to multi-factor, which we're going to be rolling into. Colin, when it comes to MFA, are you purely looking at login MFA, or would you love to see like a password reset reutilizing the same factors again, just from a user experience standpoint? Is that something which you're interested in as well?
We are looking at replacing our password reset platform. One of the conditions that we have of that is it needs to be able to reset passwords on a few different systems simultaneously. We're trying to have as much stuff be SSO as we can, but we do have a few platforms aside from Active Directory that do require kind of separate logins. Our current password platform is homegrown. It works reasonably well, but obviously it's not terribly modern, and it's on a platform we need to deprecate sooner rather than later. So it actually resets passwords in like 3 different places simultaneously. So if there's a bolt-on for Unified that'll do password reset to our requirements and is compatible with these various systems, that's definitely something we're curious about.
And those specific systems are Google for IMAP, Lotus Notes, we're using it for Forms still, and then we've got an Oracle password that we're pushing as well.
Okay, so
in addition to Active Directory,
right.
Wonderful. Just on that, Colin and Mike, Active Directory is something which we've been doing obviously forever. Friends at McAllister, they made us do Google. So if you try to ring Ramon or Tim or the team there, Kate is the project manager working with me. I had a session with them today itself. So they basically made us write a Google connector, and I'm going to share that story and show you that as well. So Google got done, and Oracle was done for Community College of Philadelphia, just for the administrative accounts. So when that's done, Lotus Notes is something which we can take care of if need be, and put that in the scope of work. That way, I mean, you don't have to use the existing, because the new one that I'm going to demonstrate would also empower you with same factors, which will help ease students' password reset from a self-service standpoint. So I think noted on the 3 systems, and in case if you would like it, we can absolutely use password reset with multi-factor using Unified Verify as well.
Excellent.
Wonderful. 2 more questions, then I'm going to get into demo. I know it's already 10:22 by my watch. 2 more questions. Colin, how are you currently onboarding students? Do you send them welcome letters with default passwords, or do you give them the recipe behind the passwords, or is it a better way?
No, thankfully it's a better way. When students apply and get accepted, we capture a personal email address from them. And so we send them their default credentials to that address, and the password is randomly generated.
Okay, got it. That's better. I'm going to show you a little better version of that, which we have implemented at McAllister as well. Last question, Colin, are you also interested in knowing about provisioning, deprovisioning, which we're doing at McAllister, which is what I'm doing there is starting from when the account gets created in Banner, what forces that account to be created inside AD, then we are the one taking that account into Google, provisioning that in Google, and McAllister also came up with some special requirements that if the account is no longer active, disable them. That's not a special requirement, but they also told us after a month, do a physical delete of that account in Active Directory. There was a special requirement for which they wanted us to have a purge functionality also written. So what I'm trying to tell you is we're also doing provisioning, deprovisioning for them. And if there are interest on that, I would love to cover that in today's product demonstration.
Yeah, I'm afraid you're about 6 months too late on that one. We are nearing completion on rolling out Microsoft Identity Manager.
Got it. Okay. Understood. So you've implemented MIM. Noted.
Yep.
Okay,
yeah,
fantastic.
we're about to go and start building out production for MIM. So.
Okay, noted. So we'll roll Colin, Andy, and Mike. In case if there'll be any questions, do not hesitate to ask or stop me. So what I've done is in preparation towards our meeting, I created a record for Mike just to show you the same welcome letter that I was talking about. So what it does is it says, "Dear Mike, greetings from IT." And again, these messages are totally customizable. You would recognize them as well. And it says that grab your phone, click here, complete your registration, and also set up your multi-factor at the time of registration. So this is like the first phase of me being a student at your campus. And this is the welcome letter, which looks like you're already sending. And you mentioned, Colin, that you're already sending student ID in the welcome letter with some password, which is randomly generated.
Yes.
In this example, you're not going to see the password at all. And it is just having the username and it's having the email address. When you click on complete registration, this is where it gets you. So this is your first appearance at SCU. And what I did in preparation towards this meeting is I actually created the environment for you so that you can get a feel of how the look and feel is going to be. And everything is obviously customizable. So this is what I see as a student with my first click at the university. And as soon as I proceed with my username, remember the trick. I already, as you stated, I have your personal email. So instead of me sending a default password or a randomly generated password, we prefer sending a TOTP either on email, or if you happen to have SMS, like McAllister is currently uploading their phone numbers from prospect system to their banner so that I can consume that inside Active Directory, we can use any of that. So what I'm going to do is use SMS, which should send me a one-time token. Here comes the one-time token. And as soon as I provide that, system says proceed towards creating a password for yourself. So instead of you trying to give me a password, I'm self-creating the password. That way, I'm no longer needed to change it when I log in for the first time. And finally, it says click here to rock and roll, and that click brings me to the login page for which you're here today. So this is Unified Verify Identity, which is blessed with all the protocols like CAS and SAML. We've also incorporated WSO2 aspect because when we started going for higher education, everyone had like ethos implemented and they wanted the ability to be able to copy the SAML service provider configuration, which should ring a bell. So we thought, let's have even that aspect into the product. Other protocols like OpenID, OpenAM, WS Federation, all that is pre-included within the system. So that's a quick sneak peek regarding, we call that tool as first-time users, which basically helps facilitate a welcome letter being sent out with a link, and then instead of giving a password, they self-generate the password, and finally, it makes them land on the login page for the university. Folks, any questions so far?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'm going to do is with the user ID, which we've just created, let's log in. And this was one of the biggest reasons why McAllister selected us is when you log in, strategically, again, knowing higher education so well, system is identifying that, hey, Mike, this is your first login, and it's saying, I'm not going to let you continue. So it's trying to get into the workflow instead of giving me access to my backend applications. It's saying your account profile is yet not done. You owe us more information. And it's pretty well done because other products typically have a separate onboarding. And if the students, they don't go through that process, they'll never onboard themselves, resulting in them locking themselves out. And obviously not being able to use multi-factor authentication either for password reset as well as for logins. So what I'm going to do is system is expecting me to provide security questions and answers, totally customizable, folks. So in case if you want to have a different set of questions, different numbers, you can self-control all that at your campus.
Is it possible to change the questions to be free-form text fields where the users can create their own questions?
You can do everything. So right here, I've given you the ability, I can click and enter a custom question.
Okay,
do I
cool.
recommend that? Do I recommend that being in higher education? Not at all. Because I mean, this is what I've seen. Honestly, this is what I do as a student as well. And I'm done. And then, I mean, we're locking ourselves into the product, which is not a good thing to do. So we don't recommend that, but if you would still want to have that, everything is possible. We are also having this debate, and I want to be open about it. I run all the working groups at Unified Verify. Institutions have started coming to us saying, shut down questions. We don't need questions. So when that is happening as we speak right now, so that's something which is going to start happening in 2020. Discussions are happening about going passwordless as well. So there's a lot happening. So yes, totally flexible. You can define the rules yourself. Here comes factor number 2, which is your personal email. I have the ability to update it right here. You could also capture one more email. You could capture phone number. You could capture one more phone number. And if you would want to have like a hard token YubiKey, you could also have that enabled for a particular role or for everyone. As you stated, Colin, the product is role-based, so you can have different constituents having different factors, which could be optional versus required. So in this example, so far, what I've done is I've set up my profile. I'm all set to rock and roll. And once I'm done with completing my profile, it brings me here, wherein I get to see all the applications, starting from your Banner 9 app navigation, in case if you're up and running on Banner 9, D2L, Google, everything would be provisioned for your display. And again, Banner, we're going to use CAS, D2L, we're going to use SAML, and Google, obviously, we're going to use SAML. And the platform is role-based. You can also look at putting deep links. For example, if you would want to expose grades and class registration as number 1, knowing it's back to school, you could just put class registration link, which brings you straight inside Banner and drops you right there where students can go about registering for the classes. So that's a quick view in regards with the wall of icons is what we call it. Any questions, folks?
I'm assuming that the apps displayed here can also be role-based?
These are purely role-based. So if you're staff and if you do not want them to have school dude, you can hide it. Every application is role-based. Absolutely. Another question could be like, from where are these roles coming in? They're purely coming in from Active Directory, but if needed, we can also push the roles from Banner. We have quite a few universities who request for consuming like even the course information and display some of the course links into the learning management system. So we also go above and beyond outside Active Directory to get a better visibility of who the user is when it comes to roles.
Cool.
Okay, wonderful. So this should be pretty straightforward. I'm going to show you a couple of more examples as well, but let's click on log out. And what I'm going to do is click on forgot password, assuming I'm not able to log in. And when I click on forgot password, it brings me back here. I'm going to provide the username yet again. And remember, I am a student. So it's saying you need to answer security questions. And it's saying you need to, as soon as I answer security question, it is also going to prompt me, come on. Okay, I just logged myself out. I think I was doing a typo with the questions. Let me just go through the questions once again, and I'm going to pull up another user real quick just so that I can show you the demo. And I'll then show you like how to even recover this. So let me go back here. Click on forgot password again. I have another user that I'm going to quickly look at using. So what you now see is, as student, I basically went from one factor, and at the time of reset, it's also demanding for additional factor. Now, what I want you to know is the product is all role-based, Colin, as you mentioned. So I feel like that's too much for the students. So you could actually have students pick up just one of the factors versus folks like Colin, yourself, Andy, having keys to the kingdom. You might want to implement like a two-factor at a bare minimum when folks like you go about resetting the password. Does that make sense? Any questions on the password reset that you have seen so far?
No, looks very flexible.
Okay, wonderful. What I'm also doing is let's go to the admin console. That way I can start showing you an apples to apples on the administration side as well. So I'm just going to log into the administrative console here. And what you're going to see is the complete administration for the entire product. So I'm navigating to the demo environment, which I was using, which is Virginia Community College System, which I rebranded for you all. And what you would see is, first thing first, this is from where I'm currently logged in. So it is capturing active users and from where they're logging in or they've logged in. Because what we also believe in is if you have too many invalid user attempts coming in, and if you need to take corrective action, could be a DDoS coming your way, account being taken over, we want to be careful about that. How many total users you have at the campus? How many have ever logged in? Because that purely speaks about adoption of the product. What applications are being used the most? What devices are being used the most? Different constituents being able to reset passwords themselves or not, because you've invested in the product, and if everyone is still calling help desk, that doesn't make sense. Which factor using multi-factor is being used the most, because this tells us what to invest in and from where to divest in from if needed. One of the requirements in higher education is what we've seen is at times, I mean, students do complain, or one of the scariest example is we had a missing student and they really wanted to know from where that student logged in from, versus like if somebody's complaining, I'm being prompted for factors again and again. Why? You could figure out the root cause analysis that, hey, yes, John Doe, because your device was updated, you used a different time zone or location or a device, you were prompted, and we see you used SMS versus questions versus YubiKey to log into this platform. So lots of insights about analytics, folks, is what is there from an administration standpoint. There is a pretty significant app store which is available. So you could literally search for an app. For example, if you're doing like a TMS app, you can search, you can add. Since you guys do a lot of ethos, I'm sure you're familiar with metadata exchange, the download and the uploads of the metadatas and the certificate, everything is right here. And when it comes to application configuration, you would see this one to be much, much, much easier compared to ethos identity, wherein you go and you click on service providers and then you start adding service providers, and then you basically do a lot of things. We've tried making it really simple, wherein you could select SAML or CAS and start configuring the service providers as well. Coming to multi-factor, you saw me going through security questions, and then I was prompted to use one more factor. And I want to quickly show you the reasons for that. Because when I created Mike, I assigned him a student role, and student role has a required, optional, optional. That's the reason why I was prompted in for that particular configuration. Let's quickly make a change, make everything required, save the change, come back to the system, go back and look at logging in or clicking on forgot password again. And I'm going to use the same user since I've logged Mike's account for 15 minutes, which by the way is a pretty decent feature to protect your accounts. So I'm going to go with the user. Let me just quickly search which user was that. So I'm just going to go with that user once again and repeat the process on forgot password. And what you would now see is system is saying, hey, user S. Kelly, you have one of the following options to pick in when it comes to password reset. Folks, I hope that helps understanding how easy and simple it is to firstly roll out using a role-based factor. So if you have to like piecemeal it and you want to just roll it out for employees first, all you need to do is set up a role for employees, and they are the only one who could basically utilize password reset using multi-factor authentication. Does that make sense, Colin and team?
Yeah. When it comes to the MFA, can you support multiple MFA providers? One thing we're looking at is potentially using Duo, which we currently use for a couple of applications like VPN, potentially using Duo for the employees, but then having students use kind of a more generic TOTP platform, something like Google Authenticator. Is it possible to kind of split out the MFA platforms based on role as well?
We can do that, yes, because what we could do is Duo is going to give us their iframe and APIs. And what we would do is when we pass the role to Duo, you would have even Duo being made aware of waking up only when the user is an employee. So we could do that, and we could wake up hours when students are logging in. So we can absolutely look at doing something like that. Not a problem.
Okay.
What I would also say is if the decision is already made on Duo, or if there's an opportunity to further divest your cost from Duo, whenever you're up for renewal, if there's something which you really like a mobile app, that's something which McAllister has requested, and our team is already working on releasing that by Jan 2020. So in next 2-3 months, we're going to have a mobile app push, which is way above and beyond the Duo mobile app, because so far you've not seen Unified engage at its full capacity. You would love the product. It looks like you've used Luminous 5 portal already, and I've been seeing Luminous 5 for many years now using LifeRay and all. So Engage is much better, and it has got a mobile app, and it truly behaves as an engagement platform for student. And strategically, smartly, what we did is if there's a mobile app which is for your campus, by your campus, why do I want students to download now a Google Authenticator and deal with that chaos, because I can't track whether they've received a code and they've acknowledged or used the code or not. So we're trying to use our own product to do that smartly, so that when it comes to reporting and analytics, I can micromanage who has actually received the code and used it, and I have the entire tracking there. So again, we don't have to go through that now, but what I'm trying to also tell you is it's all about like using one platform well, just from a student engagement standpoint. So if there's any interest, we can absolutely show you the Engage platform at its full capacity as well. That way you can review it, and in case if there are any interest, we can take that discussion forward as well. And McAllister actually rolled out with both Verify as well as Engage for web as well as mobile as well. So that's just one thing I wanted to share. But if you would still want us to use Duo, we can certainly support Duo, not a problem.
Yeah, one of the reasons why we're interested in Duo is because, one, it's the most compatible with the two, well, actually now 3 platforms that we are using it for, kind of in a limited scope. The other reason is specifically for staff and faculty. Obviously, that group of people tends to skew a little older in age, and many of them we anticipate being very resistant to MFA in general. Some of them are not going to be very appreciative of having to use an app on a personal device. I can see there being a lot of arguments about, well, you want me to use this app, then you need to give me a phone, kind of a thing. So the nice thing about Duo is that it's very flexible in terms of how it can deliver you a code, up to and including a phone call or assigning a physical token. But at the same time, an app is perfect for our student body, because obviously they're much younger, much more tech savvy, and almost all of them are going to have a smartphone already. We kind of lean towards Google Authenticator simply because of the thinking that, you know, maybe it would give them a push to start thinking about MFA for their own other personal accounts. And Google Authenticator is kind of a common one that a lot of different companies can support. But if your app gives us additional analytics or whatever, that would be worth considering as well.
Wonderful. Absolutely. So what I'm going to do next is exactly what we are speaking about right now. So if I'm trying to log in, depending upon the behavioral reasons, system generates a risk score, and if it identifies that you gotta prove who you are. So that's exactly what I wanted to show you next, which is password reset. We went about using multi-factor, and now even login is being logged due to the reason I actually open up an incognito window just to mimic a scenario for you guys. So now I'm being challenged at the time of login to prove who I am. Again, the rules are totally configurable. You can put the rules basis who the audience is, student versus staff versus faculty. You might want to not implement it for someone. You could do that as well. And again, we call it as a least privilege access management system, since they're just logging in, right? I'm trying to get in with a legitimate password. Let's make that simple. Let me log in. But what we can also do on top of that, team, is if I'm trying to gain access to a VPN device, which is visible to me, you might want me to always prove who I am. So Colin, at the beginning of the discussion, you mentioned about app-based factor. So what we have done really well is, number one, app itself is role-based, and depending upon the sensitivity of that app, which could be a banner admin page link, I can protect that just for your banner admins. It could be a help desk link, I can protect it. Plus, I can also protect logins for you, depending upon how you go about doing the configuration. So we are proudly supporting multi-factor for resets for the password. We're supporting that for login. We're also supporting it at the app level in case if you would want. And everything is blessed with either a suspicion or always or never. So you could literally put a new group and make it never go through any of the factors. You could also do some crazy things about your students are on campus, you trust them, and let them not go through additional factor if they're hopping from one computer to another, which makes sense. But if again, they're trying to take access to an elevated resource, you might want to protect it. And when they go home and if they're coming from new devices, you want to challenge them. Everything is possible. It's all about how you go about setting the system up for different constituents. So that's a quick sneak peek into how the app-based or login multi-factor authentication works. Team, any questions on the multi-factor either at the app or the login level?
Not really, although I do have kind of a separate question. Earlier on, you mentioned how you're, pretty deeply partnered with AWS. I forgot to ask, does this platform only run out in the cloud, or is this something we can deploy on-prem?
This is only in the cloud. And again, the reason was we never wanted to put too much cost, and nobody wants to manage these systems as well. So we only have cloud deployments minus a couple of institutions out there in Australia wherein they really wanted stuff to be on premise. So if you really want to take that route and deploy stuff on premise, can we do it? We can absolutely do it. It's just a matter of managing the cost, and not then having you manage the systems. So if you're okay with cost going up and then taking the ownership of managing or giving us access to your network to be able to support the environment for you, we can do that. But what we have seen is there's no need now to have stuff on premise, since your LMS has already gone into cloud, email is right there, Active Directory with one click can be made available in the cloud, and pretty much you're like fully up and running in the cloud, unless you challenge us with the question that, NK, what happens if we lose internet connectivity? And since stuff is on site right now, everything works, we can certainly see how to handle and address that concern. But other than that, if you're fine with cloud, we can certainly put stuff into cloud, versus look at giving you two options when it comes to pricing. One is cloud versus one is stuff being deployed on premise.
Yeah, we're not necessarily against potentially deploying this on cloud, but we are fairly security conscious. And so one of my concerns is always when it comes to systems that sit outside of our infrastructure, that ever deal with end user passwords. Another project that we have kind of going on in parallel with this one, it's a bit less formal, is finding all the applications that are still running out in the cloud that are using LDAP for auth and trying to get them converted over to SSO. We use secure LDAP, it's all encrypted, but the problem is when users log into a platform like that, if it's hosted off-prem, they're supplying their password to a system managed by someone else. And so there's a little bit of concern, especially with the way things have been going politically and you know, trying to defeat encryption and all that kind of stuff, where we're kind of evaluating just how much practical risk there is in letting some of that stuff be out in the cloud versus wanting to keep it in-house. The other concern I have especially comes down to the password reset. Because we're needing to reset not just Active Directory passwords, but Oracle passwords and that sort of thing. I'm not terribly thrilled with exposing some of those other systems to the internet to be able to receive those password changes.
Yeah.
If there was some sort of like proxy system where you could install a small component on-prem that would directly communicate with those internal systems to do like a password reset, but then listen only from... That'd be fine.
I was about to get there. Yeah, I was about to get there, which is two more options. Firstly, you're not going to be exposing stuff into the cloud. We'll do a site-to-site VPN tunnel between your network and our network, and you'll only negotiate upon a subnet, which will be visible between you and us. Option number one, everyone is doing that, everyone, and they put like their backend systems, which we should be touching there. Or I can deploy a middleware on-premise and use VPN tunnel only with the middleware. Middleware then sits and connect inside to your network, and that proxy middleware does the job of resetting and taking the ownership of going into Oracle versus Google. And again, like Google, at the end of the day, we're just going to be calling the API for that. Till the time you have access token created, I'm just using API, and that can be executed. Actually, if somebody gets your API, they can access it from anywhere in the world, because that's how Google operates. So that's basically how we're going to roll. So if you're okay with the VPN tunnel, which everyone indeed is okay about, we can certainly take that route.
Yeah, that middleware approach is what we've been kind of doing. There's another product we use that actually it's more for LDAP that integrates over LDAP through its cloud hosted, but they have a small middleware component you can install on-prem, and it works exactly as you described. So that's an approach that we're a bit more comfortable going towards.
Okay, wonderful. And then obviously all the reports you mentioned about the password reset reporting for both. You saw me showing you reports for adaptive authentication. There would be reports for even password reset, success versus failures, who have been able to onboard themselves successfully, all those reports, what factors are working well, which of the factors are not working well. You'll be able to pull up all the reports. And again, like there is a help desk component as well. So if user calls in, your help desk would have access to this tool. They'll be able to look up for the user. They can even see their security questions. So if you're calling me, I can firstly qualify that you're a legitimate user, and then I can trigger a password reset email instead of giving you a default password, which we don't recommend at all. Help desk can just simply trigger a password reset email. So even if I'm trying to pretend I'm Mike or Colin, I know you have gone through your social. Somehow I'm able to crack through your account. That link is eventually going to go into your personal email, which there's no way I can compromise. So it's pretty secure, but this is a pretty decent help desk view. And this is going through constant version upgrades with the feedback that we're receiving from all the schools where we've deployed the solution. So folks, that's basically what I wanted to cover when it comes to Unified Verify. I'm going to open it up and see if there are any questions at this point in time.
Yeah, I don't really have any coming to mind.
I don't have any questions at the moment.
And I don't want to drill down on dollars right now, but how is this product licensed?
This is a subscription-based licensing, so bases your total number of users. So what I can do is since you're interested in identity, password reset, multi-factor, what we can do is between Melissa and myself, we can prepare a high-level pricing, at least present that to you, and then obviously we would have to dig a little deeper on the scope because we touched upon quite a few areas about middleware, on-site versus in the cloud, and then we talked about like Duo as well as for a student, something else from Unified. So what we can still do is prepare a high-level pricing, and if you'll be okay with moving forward, we can certainly do a bit of a scoping, and that's what we like doing a lot so that there are no gray areas when it comes to implementation. If that sounds okay to you as an action item.
It does, yeah. I mean, our concern is always we have very bloated numbers of users in Active Directory in our IDP right now because of the way we treat not only incoming students,
Sure.
but also we give students the ability to keep their accounts for 2 years as well. So our FTE numbers are not reflective as to how many actual human beings are in our Active Directory environment.
Yeah, and I've been on projects like Miami-Dade wherein they had like 1 million users in their Active Directory. So we absolutely understand that. And when I say users, I mean like the real users who would be using the system. So you'll be the one giving us a number that, you know what, NK, we have like 2,000 users. So that's what we would go with. We never go with syncing Active Directory with our product and then telling you, you know what, you've got like 10,000 records there. We know that would be bloated. So we'll truly go with the numbers which you'll tell us to go with. And with that note, Mike and Colin, can we get a note on the number of users that we need to work backwards from? I took a note of around 4,000 users. Is that a correct assumption or no?
Yeah, that 4,000 is our student FTE number. In terms of actual students, it's about 4,700 per term. And then we've got 900 faculty and staff human beings, which actually collapses much lower in terms of FTE, but in terms of just human beings, about 900.
Understood. Okay, very clear on that. So Melissa and I will work backwards from those numbers and present to you what the solution is going to cost as an action item from this meeting.
Excellent.
Okay, wonderful. Any other action items, folks, which you would want to see coming your way?
What's the usual implementation time for this?
It's pretty fast, and again, you can touch base with McAllister as well. Their SSO and password manager. We took them live in less than a month, and they had some crazy list of applications which they wanted to go through. Currently, they're under provisioning, deprovisioning project, which you're not going to go with. But around a month is going to be fairly easy from a implementation standpoint because again, like your applications are already going to Ethos. It's more like copy paste of the configuration predominantly. So it's going to be pretty fast.
Excellent.
How do people get up to speed on actually using the product on a day-to-day basis? Is there some kind of training or something like that?
So yeah, we're going to provide you with the administrative training. Functionally, it's pretty simple. We'll give you some collaterals about how other universities, they do the communication, but on the administration side, application integration, you'll point us to folks who should be trained. For example, in this case, I think Colin is a great fit. We'll get him and whosoever is needed to see few of the application integration. We like institutions doing it, wherein we take a passive role, we watch and you do. So it's more like that's our for training, but other than that, obviously product training would be given during implementation, and it's fairly, everything is self-serviceable, so there is not much knowledge needed. There is no coding. We are codeless, so there is no coding needed as well to pretty much implement any of these applications integration. It's all UI driven.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other questions before we look at wrapping up today's session?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, wonderful. We hope this session was helpful to all of you. We'll send you a recap email shortly after this, and I think one of the action items would be to prepare a pricing sheet and present that to you all.
Excellent.
Okay, fantastic. Melissa, back over to you. Ken, Melissa, if you guys are listening, over to you guys.
I think Melissa is facing difficulty with her phone. Melissa, you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you guys hear me?
There you are.
Yes.
We can, yes.
Oh, back in the game, guys. Okay. Yeah, so NK, thank you. I was sitting here talking on mute, so story of my life. We will get over the pricing to you guys. Just real quick, do you have a timeline that you are looking at beginning implementation for this?
Sooner rather than later.
The last week? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Well, it's not exactly last week, but we'd like to get something
Yeah, I
rolling
mean,
soon.
it's something we've wanted to move on. We're not necessarily like desperate to get it going right now. I mean, we do have a platform that works, but yeah, sooner rather than later.
Okay, good stuff. NK and I will partner and work together on the pricing, and then we will get that over to you, ideally by the end of the week, if that works for you guys. And then perhaps we could schedule a time to follow up later next week. Is that a good timeline for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good stuff. Well, guys, thanks again for taking the time to meet with us today. And NK, as always, thank you very much, sir.
Everyone, you all have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.